Dragons are masters of abundance, and they want that for you too, my friend. And it might be easier than you expect to attune to that frequency, and it definitely gets to be a hell of a lot more fun if you let it. And that's what the dragons are here to help show you how to do. So in my recent update video on the mega dragons and their energies, it came to the forefront that this attunement to abundance is very, very crucial to becoming a powerful, clear, clean grid worker. Because when you are vibrating at that frequency of abundance, you become a tuning rod that attunes the grid to that abundance as well. You attune others to that abundance. So it's very, very important right now and moving into 2026 and onward. So in today's video, I'm going to help familiarize you with which specific dragons, which dragon energies you can call on to assist you in attuning to abundance. But first, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Hannah, and I empower you to empower yourself. And here, I'm gonna be doing that today by hopefully showing you that abundance gets to be fun, okay? You can intersect dragons and abundance. They don't have to be separate things. So many times when people think of abundance, it's just like this, oh, it's this hard thing. You don't want to think about it, particularly abundance as it pertains to money, which it's not limited to money, but that's usually what people think about. And it's just something that it's a hot topic for a lot of people. It's hard, it's triggering. And the dragons are here to tell you that does not have to be the case at all. In fact, if it is the case, you're going to be pushing abundance away. So we're here to help you make abundance fun. And I will say, if you want live practical support for exactly this, working with the dragons for abundance, join us in Quantum Abundance Accelerator. This is my free workshop series, friends, and it kicks off on 11/11. Recordings will be available, though I do encourage that you attend live. So we're going to be working with different dragons to help us attune to the frequency of abundance, not just in the area of money, but in all aspects of life. So if you have not signed up yet, would love to have you there. You can find the sign up link in the description below. Also on my website, ownyourpowers.com. I believe you can find it under courses. So now, getting to it, if abundance is not money necessarily, what exactly is abundance? And what they want me to share today on how they view it, at least as a collective, abundance is simply connection to source. It's just remembering, knowing that you always have a connection to source so that your needs, your desires, they are always met. They are always manifested because you are not inherently separate from source. Lack, poverty, these are simply manifestations of this wound that we all have as humans, by the way, of being abandoned by God, separate from source, feeling like we don't belong, feeling like we're all alone. That's all that is. Abundance, by contrast, is connection. Abundance is connection. You can just type that in the comments. We're gonna be doing a lot of that in QAA. So we're getting started here, but that's a power mantra, they're saying. And as you speak it, as you type it, as you share it, you're giving it more power, more oomph. So abundance is connection. Getting to the dragons, how are dragons masters of abundance? Well, dragons, they know that they're always connected to source. They know that it's just an illusion. Separation is an illusion. So they trust in that connection to source that they have. And what makes them very special, I would say, compared to maybe other elementals, other spirit guides, higher dimensional beings, is that dragons, more so than other beings that I've connected with in any case, they move between dimensions like crazy. It's so fluid for them. So they can actually come down to the lower dimensions where humans reside, for example. And they can do that without losing their connection to source. They can do it without forgetting that they are one with source. Oftentimes that is like the temptation of the third dimension, of even the fourth dimension, is this separation consciousness. It's so ravenous. It's like a monster. It's so big. It's hard to face that monster. and look it in the eyes really and give it the middle finger. But the dragons, they can do that. They can go down to these lower frequencies and not give that monster of separation their power. They always know that they're connected to source. And likely, friends, I will just say, if you're watching this, likely you are what I would call a dragon soul. You have dragon energy yourself. It's not, again, something that's separate from you. You've likely had incarnations as a dragon yourself. You've likely been a dragon rider. You've had a strong connection with the dragons in many, many lifetimes. So you have that same ability to move between dimensions and to not forget who you are and to not forget that connection that you innately have within you. And that's what the dragons want you to know today, is that you are not any different than them. They are not any different than you. Of course, they are these masters. They are consciously moving between the dimensions, holding on to that abundance, that connection to source, but they're not doing anything that you aren't able to do yourself. So now let's get to it. What dragons can you work with if you want to start calling in more abundance into your life? So of course, all dragons, I would say, are masters of abundance, but some are better at this than others. So number one, I would say the elemental dragons, because the elemental dragons are lower dimensional generally than other types of dragons. The elemental dragons are intimately linked with Mother Earth and her grid. And so they have a lower frequency usually than other dragons. Usually they're hanging around the fourth dimension frequency. And so they know what it's like to kind of move through that muck, that sludge of the lower dimensions and still retain your connection to source. Also, the elementals are a reflection of source, actually. They're all fractals of source. So what happens when we incarnate on Earth in the lower dimensions, we live in a duality reality, right? In the lower dimensions. That's what it's about. It's all about separation to an extent, to duality. When you go high enough up, these two separate things, let's say light, darkness, for example, they're the same energy when you go high enough up. But it's almost like I'm seeing like lights moving through a filter, and it's like light starts, it's like the same up here, then it goes through this filter, and then it like goes in two different directions. It's still the same light at the source, but then it appears as two separate things. So that is exactly the energy behind the 9 main dragon elementals. At source, they're of course the same thing, but as they manifest in the lower dimensions, in like the 4th dimension-ish, they fractal into these 9 different parts. And so basically that's like a clue for you as a human in these lower dimensions. You master each of these 9 dragon elementals, you harmonize, you balance each and every one, boom, you automatically attune to source, to abundance as a result. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. I'm always curious if this makes sense, if it resonates. If you have any other questions, I do my best to read all the comments, at least when the video first drops. So there's also some different types of value dragons, as I call them, that can help you attune to abundance. We'll talk about that more later. But essentially, if you haven't heard me talk about this yet, value dragons, as I put it, typically they're more in service to others. Other types of dragons, they tend to have more free will and more like personality and a little more individualization. But I see value dragons sort of as service dragons, and they often work in groups, and they don't necessarily have free will. And it was their free will, by the way, to choose to not have the free will because they just wanted to be of service. They're similar to angels in that regard. But yeah, these value dragons, they are attuned to certain values. So they could be attuned to abundance, let's say, love, freedom. You can have all these different attuned value dragons, and then you can invite those value dragons in to help you start attuning to those same frequencies, because they really have mastered their specific frequency. They have mastered their specific frequency so much that they've offered up their like free will, because they want to just truly embody that frequency. And frequency doesn't have free will. Frequency is something that anyone can attune to. It's not going to judge. It's not going to discriminate. It's something that anyone can attune to. Anyone can co-create with. Finally, another dragon type that you can work with to attune to abundance is the golden dragon energy, which if you've been following my channel, you know this is what I identify as a dragon soul. This is like the type of dragon that I might have the most experience with. And I call golden dragons like Christ consciousness dragons. Christ consciousness, just to be clear, it does not mean anything religious. It is literally just a frequency. It's a very high vibrational frequency. You can see it as the frequency of the ascended masters. So of course, Jesus Christ, as an ascended master, he holds that frequency, but he's not the only one. It's not limited to him. There are so many ascended masters. I love, for example, Kuan Yin. She holds the frequency of Christ consciousness. Saint Germain, Mary Magdalene, etc., 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 etc. There's so many. Many of the Egyptian gods, like Isis, for example, they hold this frequency of Christ consciousness. And so these golden dragons, they also hold that frequency of Christ consciousness. So because Christ consciousness is just like this enlightened state of being where you're just attuned, you've already mastered like the elementals and you've like kind of ascended, you're enlightened, like literally when you're attuned to this energy, you basically transcend the lower vibrational energies, the lower vibrational reality where separation is the thing, and you automatically are in abundance. So essentially, long story short with this, if you're attuned to Christ consciousness, you're automatically attuned to abundance. So golden dragons are masters of Christ consciousness and by extension, abundance as well. And just fun fact, this is why like in our reality, people really value gold, right? And people use it as an analogy. Gold is like this high value thing, this rare thing. It's alchemy. You turn lead, lower vibrational frequency, into gold, which is higher vibrational frequency. It's a symbol for exactly that. So now that I've given you a quick overview, let's dive a little deeper into these dragons that you can work with. So let's go back to the elementals, shall we? So as I said, the elementals help more so because like you want to master each elemental to get to abundance. It's like you need to master the elementals to reach true abundance. That's just necessary. And I know that can seem really overwhelming. So I would recommend starting with the core 4 elemental dragons, which are fire, water, earth, and air. Yeah. So if you're curious to see which element you're currently like attuned to the most out of those 4, I actually have an entirely free quiz called What Elemental Dragon Guide is Calling You. I'll include that in the description below as well. And you just take a little quiz and it will let you know which elemental dragon you are most attuned to right now. And I will just say, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I got this result, but I feel like this, and they'll be confused. It's right now. It means right now. So you could take the same test tomorrow. You could get a different result because it taps into where your energy's at right now and where your focus is being called right now. And that's why it can be a useful diagnostic tool for exactly this. And fun fact here, so another little cheat if you want to play with that quiz to help you diagnose where you can start focusing your abundance energies is, let's say you actually got a fire dragon come up as the guide through this quiz that wants to work with you. So that means that that energy is coming very naturally to you right now. And so it could mean in order to create abundance, synergy, harmony in your life, you're being called to embrace the opposite, which would be water, to balance these polarities. So if something comes very naturally to you, you want to look to the flip side of the coin to balance the polarity and come to abundance. And as I see it, it's like each of these, they come in pairs, like abundance. So you want to harmonize fire and water to get to one level of abundance, and earth and air to get to another level of abundance, light and dark to get to another level of abundance. And you just like climb up the rungs like that. So I will also say, for the first time ever in the Quantum Abundance Accelerator, even if you've joined us for QAA before, this is the first time in QAA that we're going to be working with these core 4 elemental dragons. So each day we're going to focus on a different realm and how to attune to abundance in that realm. And so we have spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And surprise, each of those realms is attuned to a specific dragon elemental. And so that day will work with that dragon elemental. They will help us to reach that frequency of abundance in that particular realm. So once you've kind of mastered these 4 elements, you can move on to the 5 higher elementals, which would start then with light and darkness dragons. Then you'd go to spirit or ether, then chaos, then finally storm. Now storm, because it's the final one, it's the 9th, it's where it all comes together, weaves together. So storm dragons, if you are not familiar with them, they're all about service to the collective. They're all about the collective, actually. And here's a little cheat code I'll just share with you guys for free here right now in the public. The key to generating money doing what you love, it is to give in service to the collective in some way. So it's to do what you love, but then to offer it in service to the collective. If you're trying to just like keep it to yourself, you're probably gonna struggle with abundance. And I've seen this time and time again. I experienced it in my own life. I've experienced it with my friends and my family. I've seen it with clients over and over again. And the storm dragons told me this is why. It's like we are all one at the end of the day, right? You go up high enough, we're all one, abundance, source, connection. And so when you're doing something that you love, you want to share it with the world. And so that's why for myself, I started really tapping into abundance for the first time in my life when I started sharing TikTok videos about 5 years ago now. And it's like I would share things that were on my heart on TikTok. And that was a hard hurdle to jump through, let's say. I had a lot of limiting beliefs around sharing publicly this stuff and people thinking that was crazy, people not caring what I had to say. But I did that because I felt called to, and it felt fun, even though it felt scary. And then easily, I was like then attuned to the stream of abundance, and one thing led to another, and it just has been expanding the past 5 years. This is what happens when you are offering your passion in service to the collective. It is really that simple. So if you're curious to learn more about the storm dragons, I believe I've done a video on YouTube. I'm going to link that up here. And then in my private community, the House of the Spirit Dragon, we also work with the storm dragons. We do some weather magic. That's a fun time. So you can join us for that as well. Also, as usual, all these links, they're going to be in the description of this video, and they're also going to be on my website, ownyourpowers.com. So let's talk about our value dragons for abundance. So this just in, this is new. This is a hit I just got a couple months ago, and I don't know why it didn't click sooner, because I have been aware of like abundance, been working with abundance for a long time. I've been working with dragons for a long time. It seems so obvious now, but I was not thinking of it until now. And that is literal abundance dragons. They're literal abundance dragons. So myself, whenever I would attune to abundance in the past and wanted to work with the dragons for that, I would work with the wealth dragons. So that is the second one, I would say, for out of value dragons that you want to call in. Let's define the difference though, shall we? So now that the abundance dragons have come in for me, and I've been working with wealth dragons for many years, I can see the difference very clearly. Abundance dragons, their energy is more like air, you could say. I literally see it like an air gun. Like they show me like, poof, poof, poof. That's how they show it to me. It's like this bursts of energy. And so essentially abundance, as they show me as masters of abundance, like abundance, it can be something you attune to actually very quickly, but then it pitters out. And this is what happens. I'm sure you've all experienced it, right? Maybe you were really working on manifesting and you manifested a windfall. Maybe like in some people's cases, they manifest the lottery, right? But then they lose it and they're worse off than from where they started. Or let's say you manifested some money, then your car breaks down and you have to pay for that and you like lose it right away, right? Because it's like that you have like the spurt of abundance without like the long game, shall we say. So that's where wealth dragons come in. Wealth dragons, as I understand it, and wealth, I guess, is more like earth. It's very grounded. So it's slower to build, but it is like a foundation. And it's just like this low, like a low buzz, if that makes sense. So what I learned, I guess, recently, which completely blows my mind, is that yeah, it's good to work with both the abundance and the wealth dragons. I thought before if I just work with the wealth dragons, like immediately like abundance is part of that by extension. No, because they both bring totally different perspectives, totally different energies to the mix. So it's important to harmonize with the abundance and the wealth dragons. So you want abundance, you want like these spurts of big money, shall we say, surprising money, miraculous money. And then you want the wealth dragons to kind of like keep you grounded with it, really make it long standing, shall we say. Both are necessary to have like a truly abundant, wealthy lifestyle. And again, I hope that makes sense. If not, again, we're exploring it in QAA starting tomorrow as of filming this, 11/11, and that's 5 workshops. So we'll be going for quite a few days with that. So I will probably be talking more about this difference of abundance and wealth, and abundance dragons and wealth dragons there. But just know that these 2 types of dragons are there for you to work with and to attune to. And I actually have a program that is designed to help you anchor in with the wealth dragons, and it's literally just called Dragon Wealth. So I'm going to be opening enrollments for that tomorrow as well, and enrollments will be open for that the entirety of the Quantum Abundance Accelerator experience. Would love to have you there if this is something you're not just wanting to dip your toe in, but you're ready, just like the wealth dragons say, to create like foundations that last rather than just like spurt of money and then it pitters out. Okay, so final type of dragons, and I already said it really. I feel like I actually said everything I wanted to say about them, but just another reminder, the golden dragons. So the golden dragons as well. And the golden dragons, the way I'm kind of perceiving it now is, I guess they wanted me to talk about them last because they are like the highest rung here. They are in the highest dimensions, and they are like at the frequency of mastery. It is like the frequency of enlightenment, shall we say. So it's like the last one you can call on, because if you're like calling on the golden dragons for abundance and you haven't harmonized the 9 elemental realms and you haven't worked with abundance and wealth dragons, or just abundance and wealth as frequencies themselves, then again, with the golden dragons, you could get like a windfall or something. You could have a quick manifestation, but it's not going to last. And in fact, what they tell me, it can be quite dangerous, because then you're like everything that's not a match to that abundance and wealth in your energy, it then comes up to be purged. So it does work, but it's like a really brutal way. It's like a really brutal way that is not recommended to attune to abundance unless you've done the work. So if you feel like you're familiar with the elementals, all 9 of them, and you're pretty balanced, you have a good understanding, you feel like you understand abundance and wealth as like separate frequencies and together, then you can start working with the golden dragons for your abundance. So aside from, like I said, joining us in QAA, which is going to be a total abundance party, a great way to get started with this quickly that I would recommend, and I have my like Path of the Dragon Mage clients do this. This was absolutely life-changing for me personally. So the dragons have these healing frequency pools, and I believe I talk about that in my Valued Dragons video as well. And I'll link that up here if you're curious to learn more about the value dragons and healing frequency pools. But basically in the dragon realm, there's these healing frequency pools. They're pools, it's like a spa, like hot springs that are literally holding a specific frequency. You go into these pools and you are like soaking in that frequency. You are tuning to that frequency. You can literally go there as you sleep, and it's going to be like supercharged when you're sleeping. It's going to be rewiring your subconscious. So all you have to do is ask before you go to bed. Set the intention. Ask your dragon guide, your dragons, ask your own dragon higher self or dragon aspects of yourself to take you to the healing frequency pool of abundance before you go to sleep. And then you're going to start wiring to abundance literally as you sleep. It is so easy. It is so quick. It really just comes down to intention and then surrender. So there we have it, friends. I would say that pretty much summarizes, at least for now, what I wanted to talk about for calling in abundance with the help of the dragons. Again, I guess finally we're going to like cherry on top this. final thing they want you to know, again, is it gets to be fun. It's like you can literally just play with dragons and become rich and become wealthy. I mean, of course, it's more involved than that, but it gets to be really fun. If it's hard and painful and you're just struggling and suffering all the time, then probably you're going the opposite direction of abundance, they say. So let the dragons show you how fun it actually gets to be. And of course, they and me and many other wonderful dragon souls and light workers are going to be showing you that in QAA. We're going to party together in QAA. This is a great example to experience these frequencies for yourself. Would love to have you there tomorrow. Oh my gosh. In any case, to wrap this up, please let me know in the comments. Have you worked with the dragons for abundance already? How did that go? Do you have any experiences that you want to share? Any testimonials that you want to share? Because know that doing this, it's going to start generating evidence for others to see like, oh, hey, you can actually work with the dragons and attune to abundance and wealth. It's not something that's crazy or woo-woo. This stuff works. And so it builds on that energy. It becomes more easy to work with the dragons for abundance and to generate abundance through this work with the dragons. So if you have any cool stories, of course, I love to read them. I love to hear about that. Feel free to share that with all of us. We would love to check that out. In any case, I'm going to dip out there, my friends. I am so excited for tomorrow. I cannot wait for this party. That is QAA. That is the abundance dragons. That is the wealth dragons, the elemental dragons. Oh my gosh, going to be so much fun. Until then, sending you so much love on your journey. Stay powerful.